Follicle cells produce the hormone inhibin, which hinders FSH production. 2. Estradiol and progesterone are steroid hormones that prepare the body for pregnancy. The anterior portion of the pituitary gland provides FSH and LH and also produces the hormone prolactin in females. 3. The prolactin controls the composition and structure of milk by the mammary glands following childbirth. PRH stimulates the discharge of prolactin and PAH inhibits it. The posterior pituitary delivers the hormone oxytocin, which stimulates uterine contraction during childbirth. Stretching of tissues in the uterus and cervix stimulates oxytocin release during childbirth. But oxytocin also controls the contraction of amyoepithelial cells around the milk-producing mammary glands. And finally, oxytocin release is stimulated by the suckling of an infant, which triggers the structure of it in the hypothalamus and is discharged into circulation in the posterior pituitary gland. The ovarian cycle. First, the follicular phase. The follicular phase is when is released the FSH by the past pituitary gland. It stimulates the development of a follicle in one of the ovaries. As the follicle starts to get mature, it starts to finish all of its growth and continues, and the epithelial cells of the follicle multiply and excretes the female sex hormones, mainly estrogen. As estrogen levels rise, negative feedback stops the secretion of SH, and the follicular phase comes to an end. Then we have the ovulation. The estrogen spike makes the flow of GnRH from the hypothalamus, which in turn creates a wave of LH from the early pituitary gland, resulting in ovulation of about 14 to 28-day cycle. The ovulation is the release of the secondary oocyte from the follicle and into the oviduct. The luteal phase. During the luteal phase, LH helps the growth of the corpus luteum, which happens to be the follicle cells left behind after ovulation, and the corpus luteum secretes female sex hormones, mainly progesterone. The uterine cycle first starts with the menstruation. It lasts from day 1 to about day 5 and is the breakdown of the endometrium with blood flowing out of the vagina. The low levels of female sex hormones cause menstruation to happen. Then we have the proliferative phase. It's from day 6 to 13 and consists of the build-up of the endometrium, which grows and are more vascular and granular. The proliferative phase is provided by the increased production of estrogen by the new growing follicle. Then we have the secretory phase, in from day 15 to day 28 and source from the endometrium doubling or tripling in depth and uterine glands producing a thick mucus discharge. The discharge of progesterone in the corpus luteum produces the secretory phase. The endometrium is now able to get developing embryo. If fertilization and implantation do not occur, the corpus luteum will degenerate, resulting in lower levels of the sex hormones that will point to the breakdown of the endometrium and menstruation. Now, how the ovarian cycle influences the uterine cycle. The ovarian and uterine cycles and the hormonal fluctuations that regulate them are also known as the female reproductive cycle. GnRH, the gonadotropin releasing hormone, controls the cycles by exciting follicular stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone from the anterior pituitary gland. A term of the female reproductive cycle typically ranges from 24 to 34 days. The contraceptives are the methods used to stop or help not to get pregnant, or not to prevent yourself from having transmitted sexual diseases. Now, let's talk about the different methods of birth control and how they work to prevent pregnancy. First, we have the abstinence. The abstinence is the most certain birth control method we have, and it involves not engaging in sexual contact. This method of birth control also has the advantage of stopping sexually transmitted diseases. The sterilization. The sterilization is performed by the tubal ligation in which both oviducts are balanced up and then cut, following in the secondary oocyte, being incapable to pass through the oviducts. The surgical sterilization is a system that makes a person powerless to reproduce. The most common centers of the sterilization in males is vasectomy, in which part of each band has deferens is separated. The oral contraceptives, or birth control pills, include various mixtures of estrogens and progestins. They stop pregnancy essentially by negative feedback of the FSH and LH. Then we have the emergency contraception, also known as the morning after pill, includes relatively high levels of estrogen and progestin, which provide negative feedback repression of FSH hormone and luteinizing hormone secretion, making the ovaries cease secretion of their estrogen and progesterone. The intrauterine device is a small article made of plastic, copper, or stainless steel that is injected into the uterus by a fission. The spermicides. The spermicides are chemicals that carry sperm-killing agents and come in foams, creams, jellies, suppositories, and douches. The barrier systems. The barrier systems are intended to prevent sperm from entering the uterus and the oviducts, include the condom, the vaginal pouch, and the diaphragm. The methods that prevent sexually transmitted diseases, like barrier methods like the condom, the combined oral contraceptives, the abstinence, like this means not doing sexual intercourse, the male condom, the spermicides, the hormonal birth control, and the intrauterine devices. I already talked about it. Now, finally, is the conclusion that we can conclude that the reproductive systems in male and female are one of the most important systems because they consist of the secondary sex organs and sex glands, and their main function is to reproduce the species through sexual or germ cells fertilization and reproduction. Thanks.